Welcome to Unpack the NEWMAC, where we dive into the inner workings of the conference, the stories behind the stats, and the prestigious awards that make the NEWMAC a powerhouse in Division III. We'll celebrate the academic excellence of our student athletes, the incredible leadership of our coaches and administrators, and break down the path to becoming national champions. It's a lot to unpack, and we're here to do it. It's time to unpack the NEWMAC.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unpack the NEWMAC. My name is Lindsay Colbert, and I am joined today by Brian Walmsley, the head men's basketball coach at Wheaton College, and his son, Declan Walmsley, who is a student athlete at Salve Regina University. Thank you, Brian and Declan, for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Lindsay. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. So we are fresh off a Walmsley showdown this weekend, which we will get into a little bit down the road here, but I really wanted to start by bringing it back to the beginning. So obviously, Brian, you've been at Wheaton longer than Declan you've been alive.
Yep.
So Declan, do you think that basketball is kind of just in your DNA?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Growing up, being around like basketball all the time at Wheaton, being around his team, their games, their shoot-arounds, it's always been a part of my life, and it's something I really enjoyed.
And Brian, did you have a chance to coach Declan at all when he was younger? I'm sure basketball season's pretty busy for you, but
Yeah, so I kind of avoided it the best I could, especially when he was younger. I think he first started playing third grade, and his coach was Chris Sullivan. And ironically, we live in the town of Franklin, and Chris is actually Wheaton's all-time leading scorer here, which I did not coach. Chris had graduated, I believe, in 1993. I got here in 97. But I never saw a game because he played Saturday mornings, and we always had games on Saturday. And then fourth grade, he made what was called the travel team. And I know they asked me to coach, and I refused to. I just wanted him to be coached by someone else, hear a different voice for the first few years. And then once Declan got to middle school, he just played on a local AAU team. The head coach at King Philip had a son Declan's age, Mark Champagne, who actually was the former coach of Bridgewater State as well. And we kind of formed this little thing called the Franklin Falcons. So for 3 years, we kind of co-coached, but I tried to avoid coaching his games. We had two different teams, and then definitely stepped away once he got to high school. I just thought it was better that he hears a different voice than his dad when it came to basketball.
I hear you. I just I have a 7 and 8-year-old who are playing rec, and then I have my 7-year-old's playing travel, and
Yep.
I got roped into coaching, and that's why I ask is, I played college basketball as well. I played at Emerson,
Okay.
and coached a little bit of high school ball, but they do not want to listen to a thing I say. So,
Yeah.
Declan, were you receptive to the coaching at all, or were you just like, Dad, just go away?
I was definitely receptive. It was definitely a little different. Sometimes like seeing him as like my dad instead of my coach, but for the most part, definitely receptive. He knows what he's talking about. So anything he was saying, it's definitely important to listen to.
And Brian, at what point did you have kind of an idea that maybe he had a chance to play in college?
Yeah. So it was a little bit different. Declan went to Franklin High School, and they're a perennial power in the state. They've gone to the state tournament, state finals a few years. Declan's junior year, they went to the semifinals of the state. But he was never a starter his sophomore, junior year. But he had a really good state tournament his junior year. Came off the bench and had some really good games. And at that point, I thought, okay, maybe he has a shot at playing at college. And then 3 days after his loss his junior year, COVID hit and everything got shut down. So there was no spring AAU. There was no recruiting showcases, which most, rising seniors go to. That's a big summer. His senior year in high school was kind of cut a little bit. So we really didn't know probably until halfway through his senior year, and he only got to play 10 games wearing a mask and no fans, that, you have a shot at playing college. Would you be interested? And he was absolutely interested in doing that.
Yeah, that was obviously a tough time, Declan. How did playing in that kind of COVID era, how was that for you? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was definitely weird missing out on like the spring junior year AAU season, which is definitely the most important one. That kind of stunk, but it was a weird summer. We would go up to New Hampshire to play AAU tournaments because Massachusetts didn't allow it. And there wasn't a whole lot of games, especially once we got into the high school season, having 10 games, no students, limited family there. It was definitely strange. I'm glad we got to have some games in, but it was definitely the weirdest season I've been a part of. Just very isolated, and there was a bunch of rule changes. Like like free throws, we'd have to clear. Like it was like a technical every free throw. We'd have to clear the lane. There was a lot of different rules impacting it, but ultimately led me to Salve. So very grateful for that.
Absolutely. I would assume by your previous answers here, Brian, that you weren't all that interested in coaching Declan at Wheaton.
Yeah, so it was certainly a discussion around the dinner table a few times, but Declan's mom, who actually was an assistant athletic director when the NEWMAC was formed at Walmsley College, so she worked with Donna Harmon, who's now the AD at WPI, a longtime AD. So she knows her stuff as well, and she was adamant that best for our relationship that he go his own direction and kind of stay away from Wheaton College. Which, Lindsay, I really did some research on this too, and I spoke to a couple of coaches who had a chance to coach their son in college, and actually speaking to the assistant coaches as well. I just thought it was best for Declan for a few reasons. He's too humble to say this, but he has started every game at Salve Regina, and if he did that at Wheaton, what would people be saying if he started every game? He led the league. He led the CCC in minutes played his first year and sophomore year. And again, what would coaches say, or what would the players say about that if he did that here? But also off the court, how would he be treated by his teammates, being coach's son, and would he fit in? And, you know, we know that players talk about coaches in the locker room or back in the dorms, and he would have to hear that. So it was a pretty easy decision for us that if he could find a place to play at that was not Wheaton, that he should pursue that. So he did.
Yeah, the politics, they start early. Like I
Yeah,
said,
and it was just one thing for him. I just thought it would never be fair. And to be fair too, it would be a challenge for myself trying to maybe go the other way and not play him as much just to show I wasn't biased to my son. So this was perfect. I had known Coach Foster for years, thought he was a great coach, great person. And it all worked out that he was able to get to go to Salve.
So like you said, Salve at the time was in the Commonwealth Coast Conference, now the Conference of New England. So, you know, not a league opponent. I looked back at your schedule. I don't see any crossovers. You didn't play each other those first 2 years.
We didn't, Lindsay, but we did scrimmage each other.
Oh, well.
So Declan's sophomore year. So that's what we were got to do. We were got to scrimmage. Just thought it was got to be fun. We had never scrimmaged each other. Thought it was fun. Because you don't care who wins or loses. And actually, one time I think Declan was taking the ball out on the side out of bounds right in front of our bench. And I kind of pushed him during the scrimmage onto the court, which I could never do. Like this past Saturday, I could never do that in a real game. But, you know, I thought we had a little bit of fun. But obviously, it was all seriousness once we started playing these games for real.
Yeah. So I think it was the summer, maybe after your freshman year, Declan, that Salve and the NEWMAC announced that they would be joining the NEWMAC. Did it kind of click at that point, like, oh, I'm gonna have to play him for real now?
Yeah. The first thought was definitely like, I need to win these games for bragging rights, which it didn't quite go my way, but it's definitely a real unique opportunity. Like growing up in that gym at Wheaton, being around the team, around my dad coaching, it was a combination of like a great opportunity and a great experience. And I just knew I needed to get at least one, or else Thanksgiving dinner could be pretty awkward around the family.
Absolutely. How about you, Brian? What was your first thought when you were like, oh, we're going to be playing league games?
Yeah. To tell you the truth, Lindsay, I didn't like it. Like I just thought of, you know, it's great to talk about at the dinner table, but the actual day, actually, it's not a fun day because, you know, we win. You know, earlier this year, we beat Salve and we knew what a big game it was. And, you know, as a parent that goes to Salve games when I have a chance with my Salve jacket on, my Salve baseball hat on, I want him to win every game except these two. And I know how close we are to making the playoffs. Both of us are on the bubble right now and how important these games are. So if we win, I'm happy. But in the same sense, it's not a great feeling because we had just bumped them down one spot with that. So it's uncomfortable. I know we have to do it. I wish we didn't have to play against each other, but that's fine. That's what it is. And we'll look back 5 to 10 years from now and really think this was a special, unique type of thing that we did.
Yeah, it must be a tough balancing act, especially now being in the same league. That means you're usually playing on the same days. So how often are you able to get out there and watch Declan play? Are you watching the film later? How does that work out for you?
Yeah. So I think the worst thing when they went from the CCC to the NEWMAC was obviously we play the same days, and I'm not able to go see him unless we have a bye. We have 2 byes during the course of the year. So I saw him play against Springfield twice, and probably got to 3 other regular season games, where the CCC, they used to play a lot of Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'd play Wednesdays. So I'd get to see 10, 12 of his games. So it's definitely tough missing out on those. He scored his 1,000th point a few weeks ago. Wasn't able to see that. And then senior day in 2 weeks, I'll be coaching at WPI while he'll be playing against Emerson, so I'll miss that as well. So that's difficult, but we make it work. He's done an unbelievable job in understanding it. Like I've spoken to him a lot. Like, hey, I wish I could be there, and he understands I got a job to do, which makes it a lot easier on my part. But it's funny, even on game days, if he plays at 1:00 and we play at 3:00, my assistant can't believe I don't watch the game before our game. I'm just, no, it's too stressful. Like, to watch his game and then coach my game, that's 4 hours of too much stress. So I'll just look at his score at the end of my game and see how they did. But then I'll go home at night and I'll watch his game at night. So it's all good.
How you feel about it? About that, Declan? He's missed some things here and there, but
Oh, yeah.
you're all right with it.
Yeah, definitely all right with it. He comes to every game he can get to. We played in Maine earlier this year, and he drove up just to see one game, 3-hour drive. And I know that it's tough with the overlapping schedule, but anytime he can be there, he is there. And if not, he does watch right after. And I do appreciate that. My parents have been very supportive. My mom, she's always there, never misses a game. My dad never misses a game that he doesn't have a conflict with basketball. So it does mean a lot to me. But
That's amazing. Speaking of mom, how does she handle the Salve Wheaton showdown?
yeah, she said that she's had the chance to root for Wheaton for 28 years. So she'll root for me in the 4 games that I get against Wheaton. But
There you go.
but my sister is the exact opposite. She is all for Wheaton all the time, and she's definitely my biggest critic. And she'll always be on the Wheaton side of it.
That's what siblings are for, I think.
Yep. Exactly.
She's definitely on my side during the game, but she's definitely on Declan's side when he's not playing against Wheaton. But yeah, she's a big fan. She lives in Boston. She just graduated college, but she tries to make every one of our games as well. So it's a big family affair for sure.
That's amazing. So when you get that schedule for the year, are you kind of like circling those? That's like, I know, Brian, you said you hate it. Declan,
Yes.
you said it's like you want to win. So is it like a little bit of like a little asterisk on that one? Like,
Yeah, so I don't like game day, but obviously it's something that we always talk about. And as Declan mentioned earlier, like, hey, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when the families are together, July 4th, that's all we do talk about. That's all my brothers and sisters want to talk about. That's all my in-laws want to talk about, which is great. It's something that bonds us together. We know it's a special opportunity here. I just don't like one of us losing during that game. But other than that, it's been special for sure to have this and something to look forward to during the season as well.
so when you're creating that scouting report, I mean, obviously no one knows him better than you, right? So what's it like, telling your players how to defend him and what to look for? Is it kind of like, well, maybe I don't give them all the tips, but
Yeah, so it's definitely a challenge, definitely unique. I actually let my assistant coach do the Salve personnel scout, so I don't have to talk about my son. So it is a little funny. I'll give him stuff in my office, but when talking about it on the whiteboard in a team meeting, I'll let him talk about the team, and I'll let him show all the highlight. I'll let him do all the breakdowns of film on Declan and his teammates as well. So it's not like I'm just showing Declan's best plays or something like that. And then what's really funny, Lindsay, is on the whiteboard, we always write the last names of every player that we play. But with Declan, I realized the first game, as soon as I wrote Walmsley and we said Walmsley, my whole team laughed. So we just write Declan on the board. And when we talk about him in the scouting report, it's Declan. And some of the guys I could hear this year going, why does he always put Declan on the whiteboard and not Walmsley? So I just thought it was a little different using my name in the scouting report. So that was a little unique as well.
You're like a one-name phenom. You're like Prince or something. You know? You don't
I
need a
wish.
last name.
That's true.
So let's talk a little bit about, game day. You wake up that morning. Again, how are you feeling? Like, is it a little bit of dread, a little bit of like, let's go?
It's definitely some excitement, but I do get the same bittersweet feeling afterwards, win or lose, because like my dad said, it bumps one of us up and puts one of us down. But it's definitely a fun day. My team, they know how much it means to me. His team knows how much what it means to him. So there's definitely a little bit of added like enthusiasm in the locker rooms, and definitely gets us a little more fired up to play.
So Brian, when you're watching, obviously you're in it, you're coaching.
Yes.
When Declan makes a basket or makes a nice move or a steal or something like that, are you like able to compartmentalize and that's just another player, or inside are you kind of like, nice, like that's my kid?
Yeah. No, I definitely try to separate it, but it is hard. This past Wednesday, Salve played Springfield in a huge game, and I'm on every single one of his shots or plays, I'm on the edge of my seat, and now all of a sudden he comes out and makes a three, to start the game against us, and it's definitely like, come on, you really got to do that against us. At the end of the game, I'll look back and say, hey, those are some good plays. Obviously, during the game, it's a little bit tough, but best scenario for us, Lindsay, is, for me at least, would be, hey, Wheaton wins the game, but Declan has a really good game. That would be the best. Obviously, didn't happen this past Saturday, but at the end, obviously, I'm proud of my son. For the game.
Obviously,
yeah.
Declan, how about you? When you're kind of doing well against this team, do you ever kind of like peek over and kind of see if you're like kind of getting under dad's skin a little bit?
Honestly, I get so locked in during the games that I like try not to, but sometimes if like there's a dead ball or something, I'll like take a peek over. One thing that's definitely tough is sometimes like we'll call it a play and he's watched all 101 of my previous games, so they know exactly what's coming, and they'll be calling it out on the fly, and I can hear in my in my ear like my dad saying what's happening, and it's definitely unique and tough, but it does add a little more emphasis to win and to play well. But
yeah, you need some trick plays. Need to bring out some special plays.
Exactly. Yeah.
So obviously, Salve won this past matchup on Saturday. Wheaton's gotten some as well. What's that first post-game kind of handshake down the line conversation? Can you give us a little insight? Is it kind of like, we'll talk later? Or is it like, you're buying me dinner? Like, what's the vibe after the game?
Yeah, so I thought the first time we played last year, like obviously it was a big deal. It was at our place. I thought Declan handled it really well. I know their sports information director came from Newport to Norton to take pictures and write a story, I think, about it. But like right after the game, Declan, was posing for a picture with me with a big smile on. And I was like, I don't know if I could have done that this past Saturday after we had lost right after the game. So I think he's really handled it pretty well, the post game. And I think this year, he might have said something while we were shaking lines, like, I can't believe you got me again, something like that. So, yeah, he's been good the way he's handled the post game. Better than I, for sure, Lindsay.
I was going to say, how have you handled it?
Yeah.
Not so good, huh?
Not as good this past Saturday, obviously. It was such a big game, but,
Yeah.
You feel good for him, so it's fine.
So if you could kind of pinpoint maybe something, 20 years from now that you're going to look back and kind of remember about playing each other, what do you think that would be?
I think there's a few things. First off, a few weeks ago, after I scored my 1,000 point, Coach Foster put together a little ceremony to hand me the 1,000 point ball with my dad in attendance when we played them. And I thought that was definitely very special, and I appreciate that we were able to get that done. So that is something I'll always think about. And another thing on a game-to-game basis is it's definitely fun warming up in front of his bench and just a little bit of like a quick back and forth here and there, just before the game, getting ready for it. It's definitely a lot of fun, but something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
How about you, Brian? Can you
Yeah,
pinpoint?
Lindsay, I just think it's such a unique experience to coach against your son in college. And obviously, as uncomfortable during the game, I'm definitely got to look back 10 years or 15 years from now and say what a special time that was. And, bringing the whole family. We've had huge family at the game. I actually had all my college friends drive 200 miles this past Saturday to come to the game. And I think Declan hit a 3 right in front of them. They told me this on Saturday night when I was with them, and kind of turned and said something to them afterwards. So like little things like that, obviously we'll remember for sure.
Yeah, I think the likelihood, I don't know how many times it's happened, but the likelihood of a student athlete from high school playing in college is like 7% as it is. And then talk about playing against your father. I mean, it must be pretty rare. I haven't done the research, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's something I'm sure both of you are going to be incredibly proud of for the rest of your lives. So that's amazing. As a coach, obviously you said you didn't coach him too much,
Yeah.
but when you watch him play, do you see kind of your coaching in his playing style at all?
I do, Lindsay. So actually, his style of basketball, it reminds me a lot when I was a player a long, long time ago. I played at Bentley College at the time. We were basically the same size, same position. He's definitely a little bit better shooter than I was. But we didn't have the 3-point line back when I played, so we never shot threes for sure. But I think what really stands out, like when I watch him play, might be all the little things, the intangibles that he does. As a coach, I really appreciate. Like he's always been, and he's been this way since like 4th or 5th grade. And I didn't teach it, but like when his teammates dive for a loose ball or take a charge, he's always the first one sprinting over, helping them out. When he is on the bench, he's cheering for his teammates as loud as anybody else. So those are things, like the little things as a coach would recognize. So I think genetically he might have inherited some of that that we have. Not that we really taught them, but when I watch him play, he plays the right way. He plays unselfish, and that's probably got to be the thing I'm most proud of. It's not the 1,000 points. It's just the way he represented, Salve Regina or Franklin High School as a player. His coaches speak very highly of him. And that's what I've got to remember more than the 1,000 points or all the starts that he's had.
And Declan, how about you? What's something that you admire about your dad as a coach?
I admire like the way he gets everything out of his players. Like they all play extremely hard. He maximizes the strengths they have, and he really takes the time to prepare for these games and get his guys in a good position to win. Also, the relationships he creates with his players. This is a funny story, but like even players from his first few teams, like a few years ago on New Year's Eve, 3 of his old players from like 20 years ago just show up at our doorstep, ringing the front door to say hi. And it's just stuff like that. Like the relationships he's built over the 20 years, I know that's something very meaningful. So I definitely admire that about him as a coach.
Yeah, college coaches definitely have a way of becoming just kind of intangibles in your life. I still am close with I played basketball and softball at Emerson, but
Yeah.
I graduated, I don't know, I don't want to say how long ago, but there's still not as long as you've been at Wheaton, I'll say that.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's incredible how close they become to you. So that's just an amazing testament to you, Brian. How has basketball shaped your relationship? Do you think it has an effect? Does it strengthen it? Or do you think it's just kind of like a part of your life, but not a part of your relationship, if that makes sense?
Definitely part of our relationship. From just growing up shooting in the driveway or shooting at Wheaton, it's definitely brought us closer together. And then even just watching basketball, like this summer, being able to see the Celtics win the NBA Finals together. When we went to the Final Four a few years ago and saw Villanova win, and stuff like that. Like, even if it's not us directly involved in playing, it's always been a part of our life and definitely has brought us closer together.
Yeah, it's been great. I have a lot of benefits as a college basketball coach, Lindsay, and one of them is we get to go to the Final Four. We have our convention there, and so I was able to take Declan there about 6-7 years ago. I think it was in San Antonio, and that was great. And then I think 3 years ago we went to the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden, just the two of us, father-son time around basketball. So basketball has always been something that we spent a lot of time with. And that's, as a dad, that's what you want to do. You want to spend time with your son when you get a chance to. And obviously all those drives to all those different gyms, whether it was AAU or high school, summer leagues, that's all quality time that you'll look back at and say, yeah, that was, so basketball definitely is something that helped us bond for sure.
So kind of selfishly, Brian, I have a question for you, because
Yes.
I'm just kind of starting to navigate the kids playing like sports kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned those car rides. Was it important to you to separate, like, the car ride home? Were you like, Declan, like, what were you doing? Or was it just like, let's go grab some dinner? Like, how did you balance that as a coach, especially like as someone who knows what they're doing?
Yeah, I think Declan's got to know where I'm going to go on this.
Yeah.
I think I learned early, Lindsay, to separate the two, but I had to learn it. And I had help from my wife, who obviously was in athletics, and she was a 7-time All-American at Harvard in track and field, and she understood it. And I just think she was the one that emphasized, hey, it's done. And I think after our first couple car rides of talking basketball, we decided let's leave it at the gym and go from there, which I think was beneficial. You might ask Declan, I might have probably talked too much right early on, Declan, and then slow down later.
Definitely. I definitely could have been a little better about leaving it in the gym as well. But yeah, definitely over the years we figured it out for sure.
Yeah, definitely in college. When I go see him play, Lindsay, it's whether it's a good game or a bad game on his part, we're really not talking about that. We're talking more about how's classes going, how's your internship going. And so we might just say, hey, tough loss, great win, something like that. But we're not breaking down his game after the game for sure in college. Coach Foster is an unbelievable coach, doing a great job for 4 years, and really happy that he's had Sean Foster as a coach, and let Sean coach him. I'm the dad, and same thing when I go to games. I'm not a Wheaton coach. I'm wearing my Salve, parent, jacket and hat on for sure.
So what you're telling me is I should shut up. It's so hard. It's so hard.
It is hard because you do see things, and I definitely mumble in the stands, and my wife Suzanne will say, "Will you be quiet?" But certainly after the game, I'm not trying to do anything for sure. But I had to learn that as well, Lindsay.
So, Declan, your dad just mentioned you're doing an internship. You're a senior now at Salve.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? Is coaching in your future?
Yeah. So I don't think coaching will be in my future. If you ever need someone to help out at practice, do the scoreboard, or maybe scout someone, I'd totally be into that. But yeah, wrapping up my senior year, I'm majoring in finance with a concentration in wealth management, and I'm really excited to pursue that and try and find a job right after college. So
awesome. Well, good luck with that. I'm sure Dad would love you in the gym once in a while, though, huh?
Yeah, if I can do anything to help out, I would.
But yeah, I'll be sending them to a couple of gyms to get some scouting reports for sure.
There you go. So, Brian, obviously you've been at Wheaton for 28 years now. Is that correct?
28 years, yeah. Yeah.
What's next for you? Just
well, I think just wrap up things here, have goals to have here at Wheaton College, and just been really fortunate. I've been at one place for 28 years, and my kids have had a stable, coaching. And one of the reasons Declan's not getting a coaching, I think, is because I've told him how challenging this is, and how many coaches are in the business for 28 years. Not a lot. Like, I can just think of all the coaches I started with, and there's very few that are still in the business, and you got to be at the right spot at the right time. And I feel fortunate I've been here at Wheaton and been given a great chance to coach, and just looking to finish off my career here and go from there.
That's amazing. Like you said, the coaches, I mean, the turnover, first of all, is incredible. And the fact that you've been somewhere for that long is really commendable. So congratulations. And, hopefully we'll see you there for many years to come. Declan, good luck with everything. And then, like you said, you both kind of on that bubble of the playoffs here. I wish you both good luck as we wrap up the season. I can't believe it's like mid-February already, but good luck to both of you. And thank you again for all of your time. Such a great story. And I hope this was like a little bit of a therapy session for you too after this weekend.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you doing this, Lindsay. It's been a great experience, obviously, the last couple of years playing against each other. And it's a good way to kind of talk about it without talking about it. So thank you.
Well, enjoy the rest of the ride. Thank you both.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.